Hey there everybody, this is Damon at ChappelWood Financial. Hope you're having a great day today. Now earlier in the year, we were reporting that the market is going to do very well this year. We expect the market to have a nice year. We expect the economy to go gangbusters. In the first quarter of the year, we absolutely saw that. We saw the economy grow at a rate we haven't seen in many, many decades. And we also saw the S&P 500, the broadest index that most people like to look at related to the U.S. market, it grew significantly in the first quarter. But then we started telling you as we got into the second quarter and even spilling over into the third quarter, which we are in right now, that you are probably going to see a little bit of a slowdown. You're going to see a flattening out of the return of the S&P 500. And we were saying this because the positive feelings over the vaccine, the positive feelings over reopening of the economy would begin to eventually fade away. They would begin to wear out. All of that doubt, that fear begins to creep back in, and then you see the market begin to flatten out a little bit. That's what we believed was going to happen. But it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to prove that it's really happening. So let's take a look at some actual data. So if you take a look, this is year-to-date S&P 500, and this is as of today, July the 9th. You'll notice up in the upper right-hand corner that it says the S&P 500 is up 16.13% for the year. That's pretty good. And those of you who have been with us in the ChappelWood family since the beginning of the year, you have seen your accounts, depending upon your risk level, respond pretty well to that. Now, what happens if we just look from April through right now? So basically the second quarter of the year. Again, we've been telling you to expect a flattening out, at least through the second quarter, through the summer, maybe even into the third quarter. Has that prediction actually played out? Well, let's take a look at the last 3 months. All right, so let's go back to basically April. In that time, that 3 months, the S&P 500 has gone up, but it's only gone up 5.69%. So the first quarter of the year was very heavily front-loaded in terms of the gain. If it's up 16%, it picked up more than 10% of that growth in the first quarter of the year. In the second quarter of the year, we've gotten just under 6% of that growth. Now, if you go to even just 1 month out, so now we're looking just June and July, you'll notice that the return of the S&P 500 just in the last month is 3.24%. Just as we were predicting, we have seen a flattening out of the S&P 500. However, what does that mean for the rest of the year? And that's where we come in to the second half of our prediction. We expect the market to actually end on an uptrend as we go into the end of the year, because a lot of that uncertainty, a lot of that concern about where are we headed with the virus, where are we headed with just the global economy, will begin to be alleviated. We'll begin to kind of go back to, okay, things are still trending in an upward direction. And you know what? Things aren't that bad. Think about what the market has shrugged off here recently and still continues to generally go up. The threat of taxes going up. Inflation has spiked over last year, and there's fears that interest rates are going to go up suddenly and that the economy is going to crash. There are all of these downward pressures pushing on the market and the economy, yet they keep on trucking. They keep on going. That right there is what we were predicting, was that ultimately the market, and the market is us, we would eventually shrug off a lot of these concerns. So we'll see, right? We got the first half of our prediction correct. Let's see, the jury is still out. If the second half of our prediction, that the market will continue going up to the end of the year, we'll get back with you here probably in another quarter. Once we have more data, we'll even have a better idea of which way things are going. So, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.